Classical Music Mysteries. Frédéric Chopin. Known as the poet of the piano, he holds a truly special place in the history of Western music. Listen to just a few seconds of his music and you immediately know it's him. His sound is simply that unique. But this raises a fascinating question. In the early 19th century, the musical capitals of the world were Paris and Vienna. So how did such an incredible talent flourish in Poland, so far away from the center of it all? He was just a born genius. That is undeniably true. But when we look closer at his early life, a different picture emerges. We find 3 teachers. 3 men who believed in this young boy's talent, each playing a crucial role in his development. Today, let's unravel a story of education and raw talent in the city of Warsaw. How did a young boy become the legendary Chopin? This is the story of the 3 men who guided his rise to greatness. Chapter 1: A Fading Nation and a New Instrument. Before we dive in, let's set the stage. We need to understand what Warsaw was like at the time. By the early 19th century, the nation of Poland had literally been wiped off the map. Neighboring superpowers had carved up the country. Warsaw was caught in a political storm. It went from being the Duchy of Warsaw under Napoleon to eventually falling under the grip of the Russian Empire. But despite these dark political clouds, a fresh breeze was blowing through the streets of Warsaw. That breeze was the evolution of the piano. Before this, the harpsichord ruled the 18th century. The piano was different. It could express deep emotion through the sheer force of a keystroke. The instrument was evolving rapidly. It quickly became the centerpiece of salons for both citizens and aristocrats. Amidst all this, a boy named Frédéric was born in 1810. His very first teacher is the first key figure in our story. Chapter 2: Wojciech Żywny, the classical skeleton. Wojciech Żywny. He was Chopin's first serious piano teacher. Chopin studied under him from age 6 to around age 11. By then, this elderly teacher was already in his 60s. Hailing from the Czech lands, he was known as a slightly old-fashioned, eccentric man who carried around a massive snuff box. But what truly matters is what he taught the young boy. During the late 1810s and early 1820s, the European piano scene was changing. The virtuoso style, driven by flashy, superhuman techniques, was rapidly taking over. It was an era obsessed with lightning-fast fingers, massive volume, and visual showmanship. But amidst this sweeping trend, Żywny gave young Chopin something entirely different: the sheet music of Johann Sebastian Bach and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. To us today, this seems like obvious foundational training, but back then, Bach was not the center of the concert hall. He wasn't the focal point of cutting-edge piano culture. Yet Żywny made Chopin relentlessly practice the well-tempered clavier. He instilled in him the beauty of polyphony and a deep understanding of musical structure. You can clearly hear this influence in Chopin's later masterpieces. Behind the free, singing melodies typical of the Romantic era lies something surprising. It is a precise, contrapuntal logic inherited directly from Bach. This teacher may have seemed outdated at first glance, but he ignored the passing trends and passed down the true core of classical music. And that is exactly what gave Chopin's music its unwavering foundation. It gave his work a permanent sense of elegance and profound intelligence. In 1821, Żywny stepped down as Chopin's teacher. He simply stated, "I have nothing left to teach him." In that moment, the young boy had fully absorbed the great classical traditions into his very fingertips. Chapter 3: Wilhelm Würfel, urban sophistication and the window to the world. If Żywny built Chopin's internal musical skeleton, then the next man showed him how to fight on the world stage. He gave him his outward weapons. That man was Wilhelm Würfel. Würfel was a renowned pianist from Prague. He was also a professor at the Warsaw Conservatory. Unlike the old-school Żywny, Würfel was not a traditional master. He was an active virtuoso who embodied the absolute forefront of the modern music scene. What he gave Chopin wasn't strictly systematic technical training. Instead, he introduced him to the reigning performance style of Vienna. He served as a living, breathing example of the so-called style brillant. This style was defined by crystal-clear high notes, elegant and nimble passages, and highly refined ornamentation designed to instantly captivate an audience. Through Würfel, Chopin learned how to present his music to the outside world. In other words, he learned how to make his music sound truly irresistible. Take a look at his early works, like Piano Concerto No. 1 and No. 2. They possess a dazzling, spectacular brilliance. The piano takes center stage as the absolute star. The writing is filled with flowing, radiant passages. The influence of Viennese virtuoso culture is unmistakable. But Würfel's contribution went far beyond just demonstrating a playing style. Warsaw was physically isolated from the epicenters of Western Europe. For Chopin, Würfel acted as a window. He let in the vibrant energy of the outside world, especially the musical capital of Vienna. When Chopin later made his debut in Vienna, it is believed that Würfel paved the way through crucial advice and personal introductions. Without him, Chopin's entry into the international music scene might have been delayed, or it might have looked very different. Würfel played a massive role in shifting Chopin's gaze. He helped him look past his status as a local Polish prodigy, aiming straight for the global stage. Chapter 4. Józef Elsner, Validating Genius and Granting Freedom. Finally, the man who put the finishing touches on Chopin's Warsaw years was Józef Elsner. He was a constant pillar of support. Elsner was effectively the head of the Warsaw Conservatory. To Chopin, he was a master of composition and music theory. Meeting Elsner was arguably the greatest stroke of luck in Chopin's life. This is because Elsner held a firm belief. It was a remarkably rare conviction for an academic educator of that era. His belief was simple: a true genius must never be forced into a teacher's mold. Elsner himself was a strict music theorist. In his own compositions, he deeply respected traditional forms. But then he looked at his students' work. Chopin was writing innovative harmonies that broke all existing rules. He was inventing a unique musical language that tested the very limits of the piano. When Elsner saw this, he did not correct it as a mistake. Instead, Elsner made a choice. He thought Chopin must be allowed to create his own rules. He taught Chopin traditional sonata form and counterpoint, but he also encouraged Chopin's experiments. Chopin wanted to elevate Polish folk dances like the mazurka and the polonaise into high art. Elsner never rejected this. He actively supported it. Elsner became the spiritual backbone for Chopin, empowering him to weave his Polish identity directly into his music. In 1829, Chopin graduated from the conservatory. Elsner left a famously brief remark on his final report card: Frédéric Chopin, exceptional talent, musical genius. Elsner put the future of a genius above his own pride as a teacher. This profound personal validation changed everything. It gave Chopin the unbreakable confidence to perfect his sound and march forward into the fierce musical battleground of Paris. Chapter 5. A Recipe for a Miracle. Now, let's look back at everything that happened in Warsaw. Warsaw provided 3 perfectly balanced mentors to guide the raw diamond that was young Chopin. There was Żywny, who taught him the unshakable roots of music through Bach. There was Würfel, who taught him the latest trends and the manners needed to face the world. And there was Elsner, who believed in his talent and gave him the wings of absolute freedom. If even one of these men had been missing, or if any of them had forced their own strict educational dogma upon him, the Chopin sound we know today might be completely different. People often say Chopin fused Polish tradition with Western European refinement, but this fusion was only possible because of 3 wise men, 3 teachers in Warsaw, who quietly yet passionately watched over a single boy. In 1830, Chopin left Warsaw. Little did he know he would never set foot on his homeland soil again. As he climbed into his carriage, Elsner and his friends saw him off. Legend says they gifted him an original choral piece, along with a silver goblet filled with Polish soil. What they handed down to Chopin was not just musical technique, it was the soul of Poland itself, a soul designed to live on forever in his music, even if the nation itself were to disappear. Epilogue. Who are your guides? There is no doubt that Chopin's success was the result of his own extraordinary effort and talent. But his talent was properly recognized. It was nurtured with the right light and water at exactly the right time. The existence of these teachers holds a powerful lesson for us today. Is education simply about hammering knowledge into someone, or is it about fiercely protecting what a person already possesses inside? When we unravel Chopin's years in Warsaw, we start to see part of that answer. The next time a Chopin melody reaches your ears, listen closely. I hope you can hear the rigorous discipline of Bach, taught by Żywny. And I hope you can feel the free soul that Elsner believed in so deeply. Thank you for watching. If you have your own thoughts, theories, or interpretations, feel free to share them in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. See you in the next video.